Hello student, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Mohinder Singh from Central University of Himachal Pradesh, Dharamshala. Today we are going to talk on module break-even analysis from the paper Managerial Economics. In this module, we will learn break-even analysis, break-even point, assumptions of break-even analysis, methods that we can use to calculate break-even point equations, break-even chart, PV ratio, margin of safety, and finally the applications of break-even analysis in management decisions. Students, as we know, the basic objective of the firm is to maximize profit. Economic profits of the productions of a commodity is the difference between its cost of productions and the revenue earned by its sales. In economics, the profit earned by a firm is divided in two parts. One is considered as the economic or the supernormal profits, other is considered as the normal profit. The amount by which the total revenue earned by the sale of a given quantity of output exceeds its total cost. That means when total revenue is more than the total cost, that profit is known as economic or supernormal profits. Whereas normal or zero economic profit is that minimum amount which an entrepreneur must get so as to retain him in the occupation. It is the implicit cost of the functions of an entrepreneur. It is also called as zero economic profits. This situation arises when the total revenue earned by the sale of a commodity is equal to the total cost. In other words, zero economic profit or the normal profit is equal to total revenue is the situation where total revenue is equal to total cost. At that point, it is the point at which the total cost of producing a commodity by the firm is equal to the total revenue, and this is called as the break-even point. Thus, the break-even point is the point at which a firm gets only zero economic profits or normal profit. So students, each firm desires to earn maximum economic profit by rising above this point. The technique that a firm adopts to achieve this objective is called as break-even analysis. Profit maximization is not only the function of cost minimization, what can also be done by the optimization of firm's output level. The profit is maximum at a specific level of output and which is difficult to know in advance. Even if it is known, it cannot be achieved at the outset of the productions. Firm started their business even at a loss with the expectations of profit in futures. However, the firm can plan their productions in a better way by knowing the level of output where the total cost is equal to total revenue or in break-even. So this can be done with the help of break-even analysis. A break-even analysis, also known as cost, volume and profit analysis or the profit contribution analysis, is an important profit planning technique that illustrate at what level of output in the short run the total revenue just covers the total cost. So in break-even analysis, the mutual relationship between the volume of the production and the cost of production on the one hand and the sale proceed and the profit, that is the revenue, on the others are analyzed. As given by our device, break-even analysis is that technique which shows how to identify the level of output and sales or volume at which the firm breaks even, with revenues being sufficient to cover all its costs. Thus, the relationship between cost and output and between price and output may be linear or non-linear in nature, but the relationship can be analyzed in both the cases. In this modules, we have only discussed in case of linear relationship only. A break-even analysis, also known as cost, volume and profit analysis or the profit contribution analysis, is an important profit planning technique that illustrates at what level of output in short run the total revenue just cover total cost. In break-even analysis, the mutual relationship between the volume of production and the cost of production on the one hand and sale proceed and profit, that is revenue, on the other hands are analyzed. The objective of the firm is to maximize profits. Economic profit of the firm is the difference between total revenue and total cost, where your total revenue is equal to total output multiplied by price of per unit of output, that is Q into P, whereas your total cost is equal to total fixed cost plus total variable cost. Total fixed cost is also known as period cost or the time cost. It remains constant at different level of output. Fixed costs do not change with the change in the level of activity, whereas total variable cost, also known as the marginal cost, varies with the level of output. It increases with the level of output as well as it decreases with the decrease in the level of output. And the contribution is the difference between total revenue and the total variable cost. It measures the contribution made by each item of output to fixed cost and profit of the organization. Now we will discuss the term break-even point. Break-even point is that point of output level of the firm where firm's total revenues are equal to total cost. Total revenues are equal to total cost. As discussed earlier, economic profit is the excess of total revenue over the total cost. So the break-even point is the point when total revenues are equal to total cost. The firm neither earns profit nor incur losses or is a situation of zero economic profits. In break-even analysis, cost can be classified. Thus, the break-even point is the point where total revenue is equal to total cost or the total revenue minus total cost is equal to zero. It is the point where firm will incur losses if it operates below this point and will earn profit if it operates beyond this point. It may, however, be noted that by producing at level of break-even point, a firm covers only its cost of production. Normal profit is included in the cost of production. Thus, a break-even point is a point where firm gets only normal profit or zero economic profit. Now we will discuss the assumptions of break-even analysis. Break-even analysis is based on some assumptions that are as follow. First is total cost can be classified in fixed cost or variable cost, and the total fixed cost remain constant at each level of output, whereas the variable cost per unit remain constant at all level of output, but the total variable cost vary with the level of output. The first assumption of the break-even analysis is that the cost can be divided into fixed cost and the variable cost, where fixed costs remain constant and the variable cost vary with the level of output. Second assumption of the break-even analysis is the technique of productions and returns to factor of productions also remain constant. That means law of constant returns apply to firm's factor of productions. In other words, variable cost change at a constant rate. Third assumption is the price of the output of the firm or the selling price, also known as the average revenue, remain constant. Thus, change in total revenue and the total output is at constant rate. The next assumption is the volume of output of a firm and the volume of sales are identical. That means when we talk about volume of output, it means volume of sales. Now we will discuss the methods to calculate break-even point. The break-even point can be calculated mainly by the following methods. First is mathematical equation methods, second is graphical methods, and third one is the contribution margin methods. Now we will discuss these methods one by one. First method is mathematical equation methods. In these methods, we calculate the break-even point by solving these equations. As we know, total revenue is equal to total output multiplied by price per unit of output. That means it is equal to Q into P, where P stands for the price of the commodity. And the total cost is equal to total fixed cost plus total variable cost. And the total variable cost is equal to total output multiplied by variable cost per units. That is average variable cost per units. So total cost is equal to total fixed cost plus quantity into average variable cost per units. Break-even point is the point where total revenues are equal to total cost. So replacing the value of total revenue with Q into P, that means total revenue is equal to total fixed cost plus Q into average variable cost per units. This is also equal to Q into P minus Q into average variable cost per units, that is equal to total fixed cost. Then if we take the Q out of these equations, then equation become Q into P minus average variable cost is equal to fixed cost. So break-even quantity, that is Q, is equal to fixed cost divided by P, that is the price of the goods, minus average variable cost. Price minus average variable cost is nothing, is contribution per units. So break-even point is equal to fixed cost divided by price minus variable cost. Let's take one example to illustrate this concept. Suppose the fixed cost of producing a motor e-mobile is rupee 1 lakh and the variable cost per mobile is rupees 3500 and the selling price of the same is 4500. Company's break-even quantity as per equation 1 will be calculated as follow. The quantity is equal to fixed cost divided by price minus average variable cost. Here the fixed cost is 1 lakh divided by price is 4500 minus variable cost is 3500. So 1 lakh divided by 4500 minus 3500, it comes to 100 units. So in this case, the break-even point of the company is 100 units. That means if company produce 100 mobiles, then only company will be in the position of break-even point. So in case of 100 units of motor mobiles, company's total sale will be equal to 100 into 45, that is 4,50,000, and its total cost, that is fixed cost 1 lakh plus total variable cost, that is 100 into 3500, that is 3,50,000. 3,50,000 plus 1 lakh is equal to 4,50,000. So total sale 4,50,000 is equal to total cost 4,50,000. Here the economic profit is 0 because total revenue minus total cost is 0. 4,50,000 minus 4,15,000 is equal to 0. Second method to find out the break-even point is the graphic methods. Under these methods, efforts are made to explain break-even point with the help of break-even chart. A break-even chart is that graph which shows the extent of profit or loss to the firm at different levels of output. Break-even chart is explained with the help of following tables and graph. On the basis of example given above, the chart has been prepared. We take different output levels, that is from 0 to 160. 0 units, 20 units, 40 units, 60 units, 80 units, 100 units, 120 units, and 140 and 60 units. In the next column, we have given the total fixed cost, which is 1 lakh, and it remains constant whether company is producing 0 units or it is producing 160 units. In the next column, we have taken the total variable cost. Variable cost is the function of output multiplied by variable cost per units. So in this case, our variable cost is 3500. So total variable cost in case of 0 output unit is 0. In case of 20 units is 70,000. Whereas in case of 40 unit it is 1,40,000. So on. For 160 units, the variable cost is 5,60,000. In the next column, we have taken the total cost. Total cost is the function of total fixed cost plus total variable cost. So we add the fixed cost and the variable cost. That means column 2 and column 3. 100 plus 0 is equal to hundreds. So on. Total cost has been taken for 160 units as 6,60,000. The next column, we have taken the total revenues. Total revenue is equal to total output given in column 1 multiplied by selling price per unit, that is 4,500. So here in this column, we have taken the sales at different level of output. So like in case of 0 output, it is 0. In case of 20 units, it is 90,000. And in case of 160 units, your sales volume is 7,20,000. In the next column, we have find out the profit or loss, that is the difference between total revenue and total cost. So when company is producing 0 units, its earning loss, that is 1 lakh, and it keep on reducing with the increasing level of output, and when it reaches at 100 units, there is the situation of no profit, no loss. The company is earning 0 profit. Beyond this point, that is, if company is producing 120 units, company is earning 20,000 profits. If it is producing 140 units, company is earning 40,000 profits. So these figures has been depicted on the graph attached. The table value discussed above is now presented in the form of break-even chart. In the break-even chart, the output in units are given on the x-axis, whereas cost and the sales volume are given on the y-axis. First is the total fixed cost, that is horizontal to the x-axis, it remain constant. Then we have the total cost curve that start from the fixed cost, where the fixed cost starts, and then we have the total sales line, the points where total sales line intersect the total cost line. That point is the break-even points. If company produce below the break-even point, the area shaded is the loss area. If it produce beyond the break-even point, the area shaded is the profit area. With the help of break-even charts, we can also find the break-even point of the company. Break-even point is also explained with the help of this figure. The quantity of output is shown on OX-axis and the cost and revenue on OY-axis. Total revenue represent the total revenue curves, whereas total cost curve and the fixed cost curves. The vertical difference between total cost and fixed cost shows the variable cost. Point E indicates break-even points. At this point, total revenue and total cost curves intersect each other. Here, the total revenue is equal to total cost. Break-even point E point out that the firm is producing 100 units of mobile sets at this levels, and at this level the output repeat 100 units of mobile set, and at this level of output total cost is equal to total sales, that is 4,50,000. Prior to break-even point E, firm is running into losses, and the production after E points yields profits. The third method to calculate the break-even point is the PV ratio methods. In PV ratio method, we use the contribution, that is excess of firm's total revenue over total variable cost. The ratio of contribution to total revenue is known as the PV ratios. So PV ratio is equal to total revenue minus total variable cost, that is contribution divided by total revenue multiplied by hundreds. After having the PV ratios, we can calculate the break-even point, and the break-even point is equal to fixed cost divided by PV ratios. In this case, the break-even point will be in terms of rupees or in terms of volumes. In the above examples, if the total sale proceed of 20 units of mobile is 90,000 and total variable cost is 70,000, then the total contribution of the firm is 20,000. That is 90,000 minus 70,000, 20,000. So in this case, the PV ratio of the company is 22%, that is 20 divided by 90 into 100. The fixed cost are 100 rupees 100,000 and the break-even point sale will be equal to fixed cost divided by PV ratio, that means 1 lakh divided by 22%, that is it is equal to rupees 4,50,000, or if we divide this by the selling price, we can convert it into units, then this is equal to 100 units. So these are the different methods that we can use to find out the break-even points. Application of break-even analysis in management decisions. Break-even analysis is an important tool in terms of short-term planning and decision making. As we know, break-even analysis, we study the relationship between cost, revenue, output levels and profit. So in short-run decisions where the break-even analysis is used include the choice of sale mix, promotion mix, make or buy decisions, or deciding alternative pricing policies. So these are the area where manager can use the break-even analysis in taking various management decisions. The first applications of the break-even analysis is to know the margin of safety. The margin of safety represents the difference between the sales at break-even point and the actual sales or the budgeted sales. So margin of safety is equal to actual sales minus break-even sales. Margin of safety is the limit to which the sales may fall, yet the firm may have no fear of loss. The margin of safety may be expressed in units or in revenue terms. Margin of safety is equal to profit divided by PV ratios, or actual sales minus break-even sales divided by actual sales into hundreds, or margin of safety is equal to profit divided by PV ratios. Now we will understand how to calculate the margin of safety with the examples. Using the following data, we can calculate the break-even points and the margin of safety in units. We have given selling price, that is 50 rupees, variable cost 40 rupees and the fixed cost is rupees 70,000, and our budgeted or the actual sale is 7,500 units. So the contribution in this case is 50 minus 40. 50 is our selling price minus variable cost 40. So contribution per unit is rupees 10, and the break-even point in terms of unit is equal to 70,000 divided by 10, 7,000 units. So margin of safety in terms of unit is equal to 7,500, that is budgeted or the actual sales, minus 7,000, that is break-even point sales, that is equal to 500 units. So the margin of safety can be increased by increasing the selling price in case the demand for the product is inelastic, or by increasing the production or sales up to a capacity of the plant, or by reducing selling price in case demand is elastic. Thirdly, it can also be increased by reducing fixed cost or the variable cost, or having a product mix with greater share of one having relatively more contribution per units or high PV ratios. Break-even analysis is also useful to calculate the volume of sales to attain target profit. With the help of break-even analysis, we can know the volume of sales to achieve a given profit. The required volume of the sale is calculated with the help of following formula. Here, the required volume of the sale is equal to fixed cost plus targeted profit divided by contribution margin per units. Or this is also equal to fixed cost plus profit divided by selling price minus variable cost. Suppose in our case, if the company want to earn 20,000 profits, so what number of mobile company should sell? So in this case, we have market price of the mobile, that is rupees 4500, fixed cost is rupees 1 lakh and variable cost is rupees 3500, and the contribution is rupees 1000, and the level of sales required to generate rupees 20,000 as profit of the company is equal to 1 lakh plus 20,000 divided by 100, that is equal to 120 units. So with the help of break-even analysis, company can judge what should be the level of output to attain the target profit of the company. Manager can use break-even analysis in taking make or buy decisions. Sometimes firms have the option to decide whether to manufacture a product or buy it from the markets. Break-even analysis help the firm arriving at the above decisions. If the variable cost or the marginal cost, we compare the variable cost or the marginal cost with the market price. If the variable cost or the marginal cost is less than the selling price, that is the market price, or we can say where the contribution is negative, so it is better to buy the product from the market rather than manufacturing it, and vice versa. Sometimes prices have to be fixed below the total cost of the product, especially during depressions. Prices may be fixed at a level above the variable cost, though it may not be enough to cover the total cost. This is because in such periods, any marginal contribution toward recovery of fixed costs is good enough rather than not to have any contribution at all. A price less than the total cost is sometimes accepted in case of additional orders or export orders. In this case, additional revenue should be compared with the additional cost. As we know, additional cost is the function of variable cost, and if the contribution is positive, the order should be accepted. If contribution is negative, we should not accept that orders. It is done only if the company is operating below its capacity. To understand this concept, let me take one example. Suppose a company is selling 1 lakh units at rupees 5 for 5 lakhs. Its variable cost is 300 lakhs, its fixed cost is 100 lakhs, and the total cost is 400 lakhs. At this level, company is earning profit of rupees 100 lakh. Suppose an export order at a price below the current market price, that is at rupees 3.50 per unit, is received rather than rupees 5 for 10,000 unit. So now in this case, whether company should accept this order or not. So in case company accept these orders, the company's total profit as shown in the table will increase from rupees 100 to 105 lakh, because it will lead to an additional sale of rupees 50 lakh, that is more than the additional cost, that is rupees 30 lakh, and the additional cost is only because of variable cost, that will increase only, whereas the fixed cost will remain constant. So the total profit of the company will increase from 100 lakh to 105 lakh. So in these situations, company can accept these orders. So company can accept the orders below the market price up to the level of variable cost. Break-even analysis also helps the companies to decide to increase the level of sales in case company has to reduce its price. If due to certain reasons firm reduces its selling price, then to avoid the loss, firm will have to raise the quantity of sales. So in order to find the required quantity of sales, we can use the break-even point formula to find the required number of units to be sold so that company can maintain same level of profit. That is, here we calculate the required quantity, that is equal to fixed cost plus profit divided by new selling price minus variable cost. We can also use break-even analysis to know the sales required for meeting the proposed expenditures. Break-even analysis also informs a firm how much increase in sales would be required to meet the proposed expenditures. It means that the proposed expenditure can be met by increasing the volume of sales. Increase to be made in the sales for this purpose can be calculated with the help of following formula. So additional sale is equal to proposed expenditures divided by contribution per unit. Suppose in case company want to increase its expenditures by rupees 1 lakh and its present contribution per unit is rupees 50. So 1 lakh divided by 50, that means company has to increase its sales by 2000 units. Break-even analysis also help the firms in taking the decisions whether to increase or reduce its existing production capacity. In this respect, several factors are taken into account, such as possibility of change in profits, possibility of change in quantity for sale or sale price, etc. If any change has positive impact on the contribution of the firm, the change will be accepted, or if it has negative impact on the contribution, the change will not be accepted. With the help of break-even analysis, a firm is unable to arrive at a final decisions whether to introduce any product or not. It also helps a firm to decide whether to continue the productions of the existing goods or to discontinue by comparing the contribution in both the cases. The alternatives having more contribution may be preferred. In case company want to drop one of its products, break-even analysis make it easy to the firm to take these decisions. Product with lowest contribution should be dropped and the firm should concentrate on the profitable ones. In order to promote the sales of its product, sometimes firm may take resort to different kind of promotional incentives like advertisement, prices, after sales services, salesmanship, etc. in different proportion. This we call in marketing terms as promotion mix. The firms can find out from the break-even analysis as to which of the promotion mix they should choose so as to get maximum profit. The mix that gives the maximum contribution should be adopted. Break-even analysis also helps firms in making the choice of most profitable alternate. A firm may choose the most profitable alternatives from different alternatives on the basis of break-even analysis. In this case, firm make the comparison of the contribution of the each alternatives, and the alternatives having higher contribution is preferred over others. Even ranking of various alternatives can be done on the basis of contribution of these alternatives. The break-even analysis also helps in inter-firm comparison of profitability. The firms with higher PV ratio is considered as better than the firms with low contributions. Break-even analysis can also help in knowing the target capacity of the firm. It is with the help of break-even analysis that a firm can determine target capacity to take advantage of minimum cost of production. The capacity at which the firm earns maximum contribution will be the target capacity of the firm. Now we will discuss the limitations of break-even analysis. The main limitation of the break-even analysis are that it ignores changes in input prices. As prices of inputs like raw material, wages are liable to change constantly. Since break-even analysis is based on past data, it becomes necessary to adjust this data in context of changes in the prices of inputs. However, it is not so done in case of break-even analysis. As a result, the use of break-even analysis become limited. It also ignores the changes in product prices. As break-even chart is prepared on the basis of current product prices, but in real life product prices undergo changes regularly. However, in break-even chart, changes in product price are not included because it becomes difficult to make the correct estimate of the quantity of sales at different prices. Then another limitations of the break-even analysis is that break-even analysis is static insofar as it is based on assumption of constant relationship between cost, quantity of productions and sale proceed. In real life, their relationship is never constant. Another limitations of the break-even analysis is that the assumption that the relationship between cost and revenue is linear is unrealistic. In real life, their relationship is non-linear. Another limitations of the break-even analysis is that it considers that profit is only the function of output, whereas the assumption that profit is a function of output only is unrealistic. In a real life, profit is a function of many other factors like technological changes, efficient management, as well as the level of scale of productions. Break-even analysis depends upon accounting data. So it also suffers from all limitation of this data, namely ignoring the input cost, calculating depreciation in an arbitrary manner. All these restrict the scope of break-even analysis. And finally, break-even analysis is not suitable for long-term analysis and it has relevance for short-term analysis only. In this analysis, revenue curve is drawn parallel to OX axis. According to this revenue curve, any amount of output can be sold at the prevailing price. Such a revenue curve is possible only under the perfect competitions. In real life, we are faced with imperfectly competitive market. As such, break-even analysis ignore the revenue curves under imperfect competition. Break-even analysis is suitable for a few products. Simultaneous analysis of several products, several plants, several departments is very complex. Thus, this analysis is far from suitable for multi-products. In short, notwithstanding several of its limitations, break-even analysis is the cheapest and the simplest guide for policy determinations in the short periods. So student, let us summarize what we have learned in this module. In this module, we actually learn what is break-even analysis. A break-even analysis, also called as cost volume profit analysis or profit contribution analysis, is an important profit planning technique that illustrates at what level of output in the short run the total revenue just cover the total cost. Break-even analysis is used by the managers to know the volume of sales required to achieve a given target profits, and it helps in appraising the effect of change in volume of sales, sales price, cost of productions, production mix, and making choices of product from the alternatives available. It also helps in computing the break-even point and effect of level of outputs on fixed cost, variable cost, total cost, and total revenue of the firm. Thanks.